Welcome to God Seeker. The current message, not so good. Jesus said he was king, that he'd brought the inauguration of the kingdom we'd all been waiting for, which would include its own unique way of life. Problem is, it seems we have yet to grasp a lot of what this really meant and means. American culture is dominated by a non-God seeker mentality where there is a different king, the individual. When the individual is king, there is also a faux kingdom which springs up, occupying your attention, which brings with it its own way of life that in this case, when the individual is king, is contrary to the way of life of God's kingdom, which Jesus modeled for us. If I am my own king or queen, my own ultimate force where I determine the rules and the focus is getting what I need for myself and those I love, how I live and the manner by which I set priorities and interact with others changes. When the individual is king, I don't have to pay attention to anyone else. We're all on our own. We're in this together, but really we're not. There is little commitment to well-being of community. Certainly not if there is a cost. My job is to look out for me, to protect myself and those I love. Sometimes I need to protect myself from you. Other times, I can be oblivious towards you, ambivalent. It's a good thing, right? After all, people are responsible individually for themselves when the individual is king, and I wouldn't want to intrude in your life in a way I don't belong, where I assert my ideas of what should be. It's your life. Love it and live it well. I wish you well. My job is to look after myself and the ones I love in my little circle. To this individualistic worldview also belongs a personal striving for position, resources, and power in order to have the power to secure those things for my life and those I love as priority. Without true regard, consideration, or action for what any other person may need. My priority is my focus, what I think I deserve, right? Build independent lives. I will look to what I need, you look to yours. And we'll see who gets there first and gets the most, right? I will remain mostly unaware of you because you are not my concern. That's your job. In fact, you are actually potential competition for resources because the reality is that there is a limited supply of every resource. If you have it, maybe I can't get it. This has been part of the outcome of pursuit of the American dream. The dream to be able to live in a state of thriving is not ungodly. To look after yourself is not wrong, but to ignore the essentialness and reality of community is. To participate in community only so long as it benefits me, as it feels good, is not like God. It is not what happens when Jesus is king. To dispose of community if there is a cost or it perhaps becomes painful for me to be part of anything, if it disrupts or negatively impacts the way I want to go and build for me and my group is not like Jesus. The individualistic idea that I don't really need you, that my caring can have a self-defined limit, where I can discard any involvement or commitment in an instant if it becomes inconvenient or something I evaluate as negative to self. Frequently, my way of evaluating progress in life is also individualistic. What I want to be, even if I say I'm a Jesus follower, is a good person. I may define my value and my level of success by my own subjective measure, a mental checkoff list of what a good person is supposed to do. True, to be a good person can be a great, proper, targeted outcome. In other words, when you love like Christ, that is what happens. But to be a good person cannot be the goal. Because in the individualistic vacuum of self-perception, this concept becomes dangerously misconstrued. There is no objective measure of whether you are a good person. It is fully subjective. This means I can do anything to you I want when I have decided it's what a good person does. I can do so with a void of input from you. I don't have to ask you what you need, or what you want, or what might be helpful. In my effort to be a good person, I can self-define this and deliver to you or inflict on you any of what I think are my good ideas of what a good person would do. Further, if you come to me to let me know that my well-intended actions have had a negative effect, my first response will likely be to take offense. How could you think those things about me? I'm a good person. Don't you know this? I would only do that which is good for good effect. Thus, only my intentions matter, and how dare you question these? My effect on you is not the priority. My intent is. This also means I can disregard you. Long have I been searching for what it means to be good, and I'm working on this. I would not come to a wrong conclusion. So if you are telling me society and your reality within it is different than my perception, then obviously you are wrong. Because I'm a good person, a reasonable person, an intelligent and responsible person. If it were so, I would have known. And since I didn't, it must not be so. Instead, my focus is doing everything society is telling me is important, which is often my own perception and endless list, because nowhere, anywhere, is this actually spelled out or measurable. In fact, the Bible tells us God alone is good. That's why we needed and need Jesus. But if the individual rules, if the individual is king, then I'm not thinking about this. Oh, I love Jesus and talk to him and ask him to help me with everything which I think I want. But he's not my king. I am. And because I have filled my life full of activities and priorities which society's messaging tells me is of value, if you tell me life is different than I have decided because it is for you, I can and will turn off and not even listen to your voice. Because you can't be right, or I would have reached that conclusion too. But I didn't. So what you are thinking or what you say you've experienced must be invalid. Thus, I'm ignoring you, shutting you out, because I know better, because I am a good person. I need to remain this in my own eyes, because seeing myself as a good person confirms my inner value and self-worth. If you criticize me, my choices or how I've come across to you, you have to be wrong. Otherwise, I am not the subjectively good person I thought, and this would negate or diminish my value to myself, and I cannot handle that. Furthermore, I am insulted that you would even assert that how I am is not good, because I wouldn't be this way if it weren't. If you feel the need to criticize me, obviously you've misunderstood. If you knew how hard I'm trying, all the effort I'm giving to do things right, then how could you even say that? Don't you know it's only my intent that matters? If it came across wrong to you, then you misunderstood and that's your problem. How dare you after all I tried to do for you? What an unappreciative ingrate. All this is the risk of the individualist king who makes the goal to be a good person. How does this mirror my Lord and my God? How does it mirror my love who is love, Jesus? The one who says that only God alone is truly good, which is why we needed and need Jesus. The one who calls me to love you as I love myself. Indeed, the true goal when Jesus is king is by the power and leading of the Spirit to love as he does. Never perfectly, but that is the focus goal. To love one another as a sign of his love so that others will know he is real and true. Because we love one another. I love you and you love me, not because I am bent on trying to be a good person, but because I choose to love you. And when my goal is really to love like Jesus in the way that mirrors God, which is what a good person does, versus the goal of being a good person for the sake of being perceived this way, everything shifts, especially when viewed in light of the reality, truth, and way of my King Jesus. If my goal is truly to love, especially if I want to be a conduit of God's love as Jesus was, then of course my intent does matter, but not without regard for the effect my actions and inactions have on you. Effect is very important because love is something which goes out in order to have an effect on another. Of course, between humans, this can also get out of joint because some humans will take your intent, twist it, and use it against you. But in love, there is a tension where intent and effect both matter. Both must be considered. When what I really want is to love well as Jesus did, I cannot ignore your voice. I cannot disregard what you are saying, discounting it, or even deciding to silence you as invalid. I need to hear what you have to say, and I need to listen. Community matters because I am a part and you are an equal part, and we want all pieces to be able to thrive and each make their God-given contribution. St. Paul tells us, if one part suffers, then all parts suffer. And if I understand the nature of God's creation, where I will never be perfect, and because you are different, sometimes even unintentionally I will come across wrong or have a negative effect on you, then I don't have to be offended when my good intentions have a negative effect. I don't want to just do unto you, but talk to you about it whenever I can first. And when the outcome of my intentions is not what I had hoped, and I see you hurting, I can apologize. It costs me nothing. In fact, I am compelled to apologize. It is a natural and automatic outcome of my love for you because I didn't want to have a negative effect. But I am not perfect, and so sometimes it will happen. When the goal is to love as Jesus because Jesus is King and the objective is to emulate him, I want to do whatever I can to make things right, to bring things back into God-intended balance, where his concern is the temporal and eternal well-being of all. If I love you, then I also need your feedback, because when the goal is love, especially a love like Jesus, then the goal is some sort of functioning relationship between us. He teaches me through St. Paul that we are all part of one body, so I recognize the essential connection between us. I can no longer discount you. I cannot save the world, but by listening to the Holy Spirit, I can look to do my God-given part in connection with you and others. Humility comes easily, not because I'm pushing myself down artificially pretending I'm less, but because, like you, I know I'm not perfect, yet I am equally loved and valued by God. Position doesn't matter. Worldly power doesn't matter. Money for the sake of accumulation doesn't. I am not greater than anyone, and I recognize the true and vital value of the unique contribution for which God made each of us. I recognize that I need you. I want life to go well for you, to thrive altogether, because we are in this together when Jesus is King and the culture we are cultivating in his culture of true love. Cheering for you to be all that you can be does not disable the plan God has for me, and each plan of his is equally good. I don't have to race you anywhere. We can go wherever this is going in peace and thriving together, with others with us. God designed community. When the goal is to love like God, because Jesus is my King, I can no longer pursue only what is best for me. You matter. You matter massively to me. St. Paul uses the image of the human body to give us a picture of how this community for God and in God living with Jesus as King works. In the first letter of the Corinthians, chapter 5, verses 12 through 21, St. Paul writes, "There is one body, but it has many parts. But all its many parts make up one body. It is the same with Christ. We were all baptized by one Holy Spirit, and so we are formed into one body. It didn't matter whether we were Jews or Gentiles, slaves or free people. We were all given the same Spirit to drink. So the body is not made up of just one part. It has many parts. Suppose the foot says, 'I'm not a hand, so I don't belong to the body.' By saying this, it cannot stop being part of the body. And suppose the ear says, I am not an eye, so I don't belong to the body. By saying this, it cannot stop being part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, how would it hear? If the whole body were an ear, how would it smell? God has placed each part in the body as He wanted it to be. If all the parts were the same, how could there be a body? As it is, there are many parts, but there is only one body. The eye can't say to the hand, I don't need you. The head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. In fact, it is the opposite. The parts of the body that seem to be weaker are the ones we cannot do without. The parts that we think are less important, we treat with special honor. The private parts aren't shown, but they are treated with special care. The parts that can be shown don't need special care. But God has put together all the parts of the body, and He has given more honor to the parts that didn't have any. In that way, the parts of the body will not take sides. All of them will take care of one another. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part shares in its joy. Listen to the song, We Come Before Your Throne, on the God Seeker album. Listen to the song again and use it as your prayer to remember we are all connected from earth until heaven and then through eternity with God at the center. You can find the song We Come Before Your Throne on my YouTube channel, various streaming services, and always on CD. Thank you for listening. God Seeker messages are sponsored by Eagle's Nest Foundation. This is Elizabeth Fulgaro. Until next time, make the song We Come Before Your Throne your offering to Jesus the King, and keep seeking God.